is passion for many, and there's nothing that Chef Fabio Viviani is more passionate about. Growing up in Florence, Italy, Chef Viviani was extremely focused at a young age. He was just a teenager when he was a sous chef for one of Italy's most famous restaurateurs. His passion for food was instilled by the women of his childhood, starting with his great-grandmother, who taught him how to make the staples of Italian cooking, like homemade ricotta cheese and Italian apple cake. He moved to the US and opened his own restaurants, shining a new light on authentic Italian cuisine. It was partly his success on television's Top Chef that put him on the culinary map. As a fan favorite, he was in high demand. Foodies couldn't get enough of this lively, funny, and brilliant chef, which is why, among so many other ventures, he's stayed in the public eye with his own YouTube cooking channel. So, Fabio, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you in the Reach TV studios.
Good to see you again. It's been a while. Yes.
It has, and you look exactly the same.
How
does that happen?
A lot more grays. A lot more grays. It's been a long decade the last 2 years.
Okay, so I want to talk about where you grew up and with Italian food and
yes.
How did it spur your passion, your love for cooking?
So, you know what's funny? Everybody has a great story, right? You know, I grew up with my grandmother and my family taught me the beautiful things about food and Italy, and I had none of that. You know, my mom and my dad are working 3 jobs. My grandfather and my grandmothers are working. I grew up very underprivileged. So we didn't have a lot of money and we didn't have a lot of food. Usually the food was never too much and never too good. You know, when you grow up with food stamp, the selection is quite limited. And because of that, I went to work very early. I got my first job in a kitchen. I was 11 years old.
Wow.
So yeah.
Where in Italy did you grow up?
I grew up in Florence, Tuscany, right outside of Florence.
So, you know, we know there's so many regions in Italy. Each one is unique. Each one has a certain climate and food or wine that they're known for. So tell us, like, what was your influences in Tuscany?
So Tuscany, it's a little bit melting pot of everything because Tuscany is smacked in the middle, right? Yeah. So you have the northern, colder, richer, braised, simmering forever flavor with the southern influence of fresh, off the coast, off the ground, spiciness, light fare that the south of Italy, because it's a warmer climate, kind of brings to the table. So we're smack in the middle, right? We got the great woods, we got the great, prairie, we got the wines, we got everything in Tuscany because we have our own identity, but then we just grab things from every other region around us. And then if you go to the north of Italy, the culinary scene is very different in Milan than it is in like Naples. Completely different.
Right. So talk about Italian cuisine, because a lot of people, especially here in the United States, go, oh, pizza, pasta, I know exactly what it is, but it's really not all that.
I think Italian cuisine in principle, look, chicken is chicken. Doesn't matter if it's in Italy, in America, chicken is chicken. You can find great chicken here. You can find great produce in the United States. You can find the good stuff that you find in Italy. Now, of course, there is few items that if it in Italian, ain't it, right? Parmigiano Reggiano, Grana Padano, burrata, San Marzano tomato. Those are the things that Italy offers that no one else has. But there are tomatoes that are just as good as the San Marzano in other regions of the world. I think the things that define Italy, we just keep it simple. Mm-hmm. We don't try to embellish. We don't try to camouflage flavor with something fancy. In Italy, growing up in Italy, coming to the United States, we have a lot of restaurants right now. We still serve dishes the way we do them in Italy, and sometimes people goes like, it's just a piece of fish on the plate. There is no sides. Where's the sides? I'm like, well, fish in Italy doesn't come with sides.
And so you said at 11 you started working, was it in a kitchen?
When I was 11, again, going to school in the morning, hanging out with grandma during the day, getting ready for dinner time. So I'm home with her, getting ready for dinner. One day, my mom, got a bad news from a doctor. She had to take care of her health. She had to cut back the amount of job that she was doing. So I found a job at a bakery shop, baking pie, making bread, dough for the next day, cakes. And now I'm 11 years old, driving a little Vespa in Italy for 20 miles.
Wow.
You know, I did that for about 3 years.
You earned your stripes.
And that's one of the main reasons why I'm not a fan of baking.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, I already give it. I already give in. You know,
You're scarred.
I got my dues. I paid my dues with it. Now I'm moving on to savory. Yeah.
That's good. Well, we appreciate that because your food is amazing.
I didn't say I want to be a chef. I got stuck into the business. So I went to school because the owner of the bakery shop, after working 3 years with me every night, said, look, I own a couple of restaurants. I would love to give you a daytime job now that we can hire you.
And you're a little bit older, 15.
I'm older, I'm 15, and I'm going to school. 8 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, go to school. Then 2 in the afternoon till midnight, 1 in the morning, now I work at a restaurant in the kitchen. And I was the chef. Well, that sounds great, but I was also the only person in the kitchen. I turned 18 and he said, why don't we team up together? And I said, oh, that's great, but I got no money. Everything you pay me, I get back to the family. So I don't really have money to invest or open my own restaurant. And the guy was like, just keep working the way you do. Give me a little bit of the equity, which by then was a handshake.
Right.
And it was a trustworthy handshake because it came through. And I opened my first restaurant when I was 19 in Italy.
And now you're married, you have a young son.
Yes.
So how are you passing on your Italian roots, the Italian cuisine traditions to him so he knows where he came from, his culture?
My son is growing up with a very passionate Italian dad that cooks mostly Italian at home. So he loves his pasta, he loves his pizza, he loves his Italian braised meat and anything around it. But he's 6 years old and he's growing up in America. So he loves his burger and his hot dogs and his wing, and that's okay. You know, I'm not trying to force feed my son into buying into the Italian culture because he's not in Italy and he will always have it. It will always be available to him when he wants to explore it. What I'm trying to teach him are the Italian principles.
Tell me about the YouTube channel. And
So,
your son makes appearances too, and I fell in love with him.
Fabio's Kitchen. It's a show that I produce. I just love to cook for people. I love to teach people how to cook. I just want to be the guy that everybody loves, right? I want to be everybody's grandma.
So you are restaurant mogul, you are amazing chef, TV celebrity, all of that. What's next? I mean, what's next to do for you? Or do you say, you know what, next is retiring to my private island, which I wouldn't blame you.
I don't know about the private island, but retiring sounds pretty good. I gotta get back where we used to be. We're not quite there yet. We took a big hit with the pandemic, and I gotta make sure that everybody that works with me is taken care of.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your amazing food, for everything that you bring.
It's a pleasure.
And your YouTube channel, all of that is just fantastic. We look forward to seeing you retire. Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.